Hello and welcome to Ivy Creates. Today I'm going to be painting a Labrador, a black lab, one of the most popular dogs there is around. I'm using my black and white photo with some graphite paper to get down my basics and my proportions, just to make sure they're accurate, because there is nothing more important than to have accurate proportions and shape to a pet portrait, or any portrait for that matter. Welcome to Ivy Creates. I'm glad you're here. Please like, subscribe, follow, share with others, all the good stuff. So I'm putting a little bit of a blue on the background because the client's favorite color is blue. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to do some blue on the background, and that's just basics for me to be able to have something to paint against. It doesn't mean it will remain that way, but that's the way I'm painting it right now. So I'm going to go back in and I'm putting in some of my blacks, and what I'm using is a very thin acrylic black with a little bit of a antique gold in it. I put just enough gold and a little bit of brown to give it some different colors, but it is very thin down, and I want to start with a kind of thin color to be able to layer upon, because this will eventually have several layers. So you can see that I'm just kind of going into some of the blacks and doing that, and I will go in and darken up some of the darker blacks as well, to make sure I'm keeping my shape right. Especially around the eyes and the nose where it's most important, and around the mouth. The most wonderful thing about paint and paint pens is that, there are no mistakes. You can always go back and repaint over and over again if you want to. This is what I find the easiest way to do it. And I'm using a bit of pink on the tongue, and it's about a medium pink, and then I come back with a lighter pink, and also putting a little bit on the nose because this puppy has pink on the nose. So I'm going to go back and use my paint pens to get in some of the details, and these are either acrylic paint pens or the Faber-Castell alcohol ink pens. So either way, it does help. The alcohol ink is more transparent than the acrylic paint pens. They tend to be more opaque, and that means solid color, in case you didn't know. And so I'm just going to be adding in the details, making little polka dots all over the nose, so it gives that little bit of texture that the dogs have of the polka dot nose. And also lining around the eyes and the lips and everything. So now I'm going to go in and add some little eyebrows, because this guy has darker eyebrows. Also adding in more color to the body part. And this is just basically painting with that same black color that I was using before. It's the black mixed with a little bit of burnt umber and a little bit of gold. And if you start with a good foundation, like working from the black and white picture like I've been doing, if you start with that good foundation, you're going to be much better off in the long run. And I will say that you do have to have the painting skill and the ability to draw, but not as much so when you're using a photo reference. And that's what I do in the major part of it, because I always want to make sure I get my proportions right on my eyes and nose and mouth. So I go in and I shade right below the nose onto the tongue, and put some of the shading in there, and then dry it off with my heat gun a little bit, because I do like to work rather fast, although not as fast as what you're seeing because it is sped up. But I do like to work fast, so I dry sometime between the different layers. And you can see I love to do a good smiling happy pup. I hope you enjoy this, enjoy watching the tutorial. And if you have any questions or anything, please feel free to comment below and ask. I'll be glad to answer them for you. I'm using my little paint pen right now, and I like to do that with the fur many times because you can make short little strokes, as you can see, and you do the short strokes to make fur. And you can use, I mean, depending on what your animal has, you can do short or longer strokes. But when you do the strokes, it's important that you put the pen down and lift it up at the end. Just lift it a little bit. Turn your hand if you have to lift it up off the canvas or whatever surface you're using. And that is to give it the appearance of being a little thinner on the end of each stroke. And that'll help you also with your fur. I did try to turn off some of the, I use a lot of really bright lights when I'm working, so I can see better, but sometimes it doesn't jive with the camera all that well. So I did try to turn off some of those lights so that y'all can see what I'm doing a little bit better, and I go back and forth between the two just so you guys can see and tell what I'm doing. I have several paintings of different pets in this series. Go back and look at my playlist and see if there's something else you might like to see. I probably don't have it in there yet, but I will have a lizard that I've done, a bearded dragon, a raccoon, and several other types of pets, different doodles and different types of dogs and stuff. So, look in there, and it may be that I have one of your particular animal. And if not, you can always request that I do one. So I do take commissions, and I do also different ones for my videos. Now you can see this is a bit of a tedious process, but it does take time to get it right. And you want to take those short little strokes because it is a short-haired dog. And I always go back and I reference my picture many, many times to try and make sure that I'm getting it right. And you can see the different array of acrylic pens and alcohol markers that I'm using. I do enjoy using my pens, and right now I'm putting in a marker, basically. It's a bright white, but you could use a gray, or you can use a gray over the white. And that is to just highlight an area of fur that on the picture is highlighted. And I'll end up going back over it to tone it down quite a lot. But you can see many times I'll go back and forth between a highlight and a low light, or making it brighter or darker depending on the layer that I'm doing. And you can see also that it looks rather loose until you get right near the end. And mainly when you're first painting, you're color blocking. You're just putting colors in. You're not doing anything fancy. You'll come back as you go through your different layers, and you'll add more and more details each time. And each time it will pick up and look a little bit more and more like your subject. Now I'm going to go in, and this puppy has a white mark on its chest. So I want to go in and get that as close to accurate as I can. Again, the markings are important. The proportion is important. You want it to look like the person's animal that they're getting a portrait of. And they will notice the difference if you don't get it right. So do try to do that. And this is a white mark on the chest of the pup. I love animals, and I've been very privileged to be able to be around many different types of animals for quite a while, and that is just a joy to me, and it is extreme joy to be able to do portraits for people's pets. It's something we don't often think of, but yet I find it, really nice to have, especially the posthumous portraits that I do after a pet has crossed the rainbow bridge. I find that is a nice thing to have around to always remind them of their pet that has passed. Please subscribe, hit the notification bell, and like and share any of my videos, and go back and look through some of my shorts of me and my dogs. I have a South African Boerboel, and that's a type of Mastiff, and he's absolutely humongous. He just made a year old November of 2024, and he was over 130 pounds already. And so he'll get up to probably another 40 pounds or so, probably about 170 pounds is going to be his top out. And I also have a boxer girl, which turns out that even though she's a small boxer, she still gets the best of him. And she plays with him all the time, and she is the boss. One of the last things that I usually do before I give a portrait to a client is I go over it with a clear coat. Okay, so I go over it with a clear coat, and that is to just protect the canvas or whatever your surface you're painting on, and make sure that, I mean, acrylic doesn't have to have it, but I do like to do it. Please don't forget to share this video if you know somebody you think that would like it. But yeah, I like to protect it, and an extra protectant, because you never know where you're going to put these. I did one for a client that was putting it in her bathroom, so I wanted to make sure that any of the condensation from the shower would not bother the acrylic paint, which it wouldn't, but you know, I like to make double sure. So thank you again so much for watching. I really appreciate you being here, and I'm glad that you're here. Hopefully you enjoyed this as much as I enjoy doing it, and I will see you soon.